Hey guys, so today's video, nearly Christmas time. So I've got me Christmas beer. It is nearly four o'clock in the afternoon, so which is fine. At this latitude, it's nearly dark, so I think the sun's clearly over the yard arm. So cheers. This is a hazy IPA, 6% India Pale Ale. Very nice indeed. Anyway, to the job in hand. I'm just gonna review 3 games by a chess.com friend and follower, and he is Etenerb. Okay, now I've just pulled up his 3 most recent rapid games. I haven't looked at them. I'm just going to try and offer whatever I can by way of tips and advice. Okay, so let's just dive in and have fun. So he's rated just over 1,000. His opponent here is rated 1072, and opponent Tagalu has the white pieces, and they start with d4, as so many do. Now d4 c6, the problem with responding to this with the knight from the same side is that you can just get a push, and then the knight is kicked immediately, and you're giving away the center potentially. So it has a name, it's the Mykonos defense. White here now pushes e3, which is conservative, I would say. So the most aggressive approach would be this, hit the knight, but the problem with this is it's blocked in that bish. So, and tight play again from Etenerb, knight out, and here we have a contest for the center. So issue here is, if white takes here, you can take with the pawn, because then if there's an exchange of queens, your knight can recapture and your king still has castling rights, but it's a slight detriment already because you're undeveloping your knight back to the back rank, right? So what do we have here? Does white take the bait? No. I'm getting the feeling already in the first few moves that we've got 2 quite cagey players here. By the way, this is the 30-minute rapid, so they've got plenty of time to think. Now what we've got here on white side of the board is a London but with an imprisoned bishop. This bishop would normally come out to this square in the London before you construct this Pyramid of Doom, but he's got a trapped bishop now. We'll see how that transpires. Okay, now black here has done, Etenerb has done what I suggested white could do, which is to push the central pawn, kick the knight, win a tempo, and that effectively makes black white. Okay, so here the knight has looped around and now it is attacking the pawn again, so I would definitely here play d5. Okay, knight f6 as well, perfectly good, in fact possibly even better. I think both are excellent. The thing about this one is that it develops the knight, so do what you need to do, i.e. defend the pawn and develop a piece. Perfectly good. I still think maybe d5 could be an option. Also note that this bishop is totally trapped, so the knight could even have come to here at some point. We shall see. Okay, queen out. Okay, what we're doing here is we're adding a second attacker to the pawn, so now 100% d5. Indeed, well done. Okay, bishop comes out, pins the knight. The knight isn't really doing anything, he's not protecting anything. Okay, so I mean that would be very natural. Kick the bishop, also perfectly reasonable. Oh, that's an interesting little move. Now, so what white's doing here is actually pinning the pawn against the rook, right? So now the pawn can't take the bishop because queen takes the rook, and we go down in exchange. It would be worth calculating whether you can trap the queen in that instance, and I can't see an easy way to do that. But one thing that you might consider here is, for example, bishop d7. So what that does is it breaks the pin on the knight, okay? But it also gives a discovered defense on the rook by the queen. Okay, so now, you know, if takes, the queen's under attack. But more importantly, the pawn could now instantly take the bishop. So that's what I would do. Black plays queen d7, which isn't as good. And the reason is because this pawn now can't take the bishop because the rook is still hanging, because the rook is undefended. Bishop to d7 would have been far better move. Okay, and that took 19 seconds, right? And you've got almost 28 minutes left of a 30-minute game. I would take a little bit more time. Take the time. If your opponent doesn't like it, tough. They signed up for a 30-minute game, right? Never let your opponent rush you. Okay, so we have c4 from white, defending the bishop, kind of also attacking in the center. Okay, black develops a bishop getting ready to castle kingside. We have takes and rook takes. Sorry, knight takes. Get confused. Haven't really learned the pieces yet. And that's quite interesting, actually. Knight could then come in here, hit the queen. And the queen has to stay on here to maintain the pin on the rook, or else the bishop falls, you see. So, knight into e4. It's not terribly dangerous in itself. Again, I really do think that, you know, black's going to suffer from not having moved this bishop, because then, you know, when the queen develops, then when you castle, you've connected your rooks, and, you know, normal development makes sense for very good reasons. Okay. And another option here is simply move the rook to b8, and then it's not pinned anymore, and then you can capture the bishop. Anyway, so black castles. So we've almost completed development apart from this annoying bishop now that the queen's blocking in. Knight comes in attacking the queen. Queen comes out attacking g2. Like it. This is nice. Okay, so now is white going to castle? Oh, what? Undevelops the bishop all the way back there. But again, yeah, it kind of makes sense because the bishop was under attack. This knight may be an issue now. If bishop takes knight and pawn takes... This pawn's then capturing away from the centre. It's interesting. Also notice white is very much behind in development now, particularly after Ooh, okay, so cool, yes. And you don't recapture. Now, this is a curious move. So white here thought for nearly 50 seconds. White's queen... I mean, we had pawn takes, right? White's queen is now attacking two pieces. But I would play this. You know, it makes you think, surely there's some kind of clever way to get out of it. But bishop b4 comes with check, yeah? And the queen can't take the bishop. And the queen can't take the knight because white's in check. So here, block, or block, right? Bishop takes, still in check, and you've just traded your bishop and you'll go a piece up. Then the knight can retreat to here. Get in, my son. Well done. Lovely move. Okay, now what does white do? Blocks. Now we trade. Yes! And now the knight retreats. Or the queen comes back to defend the knight. Okay. But I kind of like the queen in this position, because what I like about this is this bishop is now kind of tied to the defense of this pawn. So white wants the castle, yeah? But white can't develop the bishop because queen takes this and attacks the rook. So I don't know. I mean, there is an argument to say leave the knight in the centre. Knights in the centre are very, very powerful. Right? Two very decent pieces here. And we're a piece up, so come back, yeah, maybe. And there might be thoughts about, you know, if this, I don't know, maybe a discovery in force of trade of queens, which we'll see. Pawn attacks knight. I think knight f6 is fine, but also knight here, or knight here, or knight there attacking the queen and proposing a trade. White declines the trade. Now this trade would have been good because it also gives black an opportunity to develop that bishop, eh? Anyway, so queen now dodges over to here. These knights are starting to look a little bit too far away from this fella. You know, you do want to be thinking about edging your knights up the board. And that's, okay, half-hearted attack. Everything's kind of defended. You really want to get this bishop out. Okay, so what does black do? Just slide back. Oh, ow, what? White now decides to castle long, putting his king straight on a semi-open file. And also, it has to be said, moving the king towards these two knights. Whereas here, would have moved the king well away from those two knights. So it's simply going to take black a lot of turns, if the king was here, to get these knights into the action, particularly with these pawns in the way. But hey. Oh yes, nice spot. Queen takes a2. Excellent. Bishop here. So now we have a check, but it's a pointless check. And it takes the queen off this very, very nice diagonal as well. So I wouldn't play that. Good, good. Black resists the temptation of a completely pointless check. The queen is now tied to the defense of this pawn because otherwise queen takes and it's mate. Queen comes back. Okay. Huh. We can take here now, can't we? Yeah, no, I'd have taken here, I think. Hit the queen again. That queen's really running out of squares. Okay, we have queen a1 check. And now the bishop can't block, but the knight can and the queen can. If the queen blocks, we trade. Okay, now take the pawn, eh? Yes! This is good play. And now, oh, wow. Counterplay. Boom. But now, right, the king's got to dodge, yeah? Right. Now what? This is sharp. This knight's pinned. This queen's under attack. This bishop's under attack. So this queen's going to have to move and go somewhere on this diagonal, but not there and not there. So the queen's going to have to come to this or this, right? Surely. Oh, what? Oh, that was a great move. Discovered attack on the knight. Boom, bada, boom. Okay, now I like this. G6 now traps the bishop. Oh, wow. Wow. So it looks like black here was thinking only about this corner of the board and ignoring this corner of the board. Yeah. Takes the bishop but loses the queen. Oh no! The queen's actually trapped. Wow, white has got out of this by the skin of his teeth, man. And, oh yeah, bishop to here. Attacks the queen, but queen just dodges. Oh, this is going to be tight now. Okay, so we're expecting a fairly straightforward win for white here, yeah. And it all starts to fall apart. Trading off, simplifying, and yeah, game over. Oh, well, that is a tough one. Etenerd, you played very, very well, but that discovery with check from a 1072, very good move. Very good move. It happens. Let's go on to the second game. Now we have the white pieces, and we have e4, e5. With the Vienna. Love it. Okay, now this one, the Zhuravlev. So there's a couple of ways to approach this. There's this d4, I think, is fine, which is quite spicy. Or I think knight to f3. We play knight to f3, takes, and now you can take with either pawn. Probably the b pawn is best. Nice. Okay. And now I think you can play d4, because takes, and you've got a lovely centre with your pawns. Nice. Okay. And this is a very comfortable setup. Now you're looking to get your bishop out here. You want to castle your king. Quite often in the Vienna, you want to try and push this pawn before the knight comes out there if you can. Okay, but okay, push the pawn, kick the knight. The knight finds itself kicked. And now white has a massive development lead, and this knight looks very, very stupid. It can't go there or there or there because it will get captured. So bishop out to here now. Okay, getting ready to castle. Yeah, knight f6, getting ready to castle, castles. Pushes a pawn. And here you've got this, so that if they take towards the centre, you also take towards the centre. And that effectively means that your b pawn has become a c pawn and a d pawn. Good. Okay, and now black decides to shut the center. Closed, right? And what that means is this bishop in particular is looking very poor. This guy, on the other hand, has a lot of scope. So you probably want to be improving this bishop. On the other hand, white's dark squared bishop is very good, and this attacks the knight, and the knight, remember, has no squares. So that would force this move, for example, and improves the bishop, gets it off the back rank, getting closer to connecting the rooks. Oh, you are reading my mind, sir. Okay. Oh, of course, the knight is defended by the queen. Okay, now maybe queen e1. Is it like a brother from another mother? And that forces b6. Okay. So now what would I be doing? So ain't no way black's going to castle that way. Black definitely wants to castle this way. So what do we want to do? We've got these nice bishops. I would be thinking now about moving this knight to release Freddie, and we want to bust open, you know, this bit of the board here, right? Yeah? That's what I'd be thinking about. Maybe even h3, take this square away from the knight and the bishop, right? Because removing opportunities for your opponent is a good thing. Then you could slide the knight in here, and then you could break with Freddie, try and open all this stuff, particularly while the king hasn't castled yet. That is... No, I'm not convinced. I mean, that queen can't take because queen still defends, and that pawn is defended by the queen, so I don't really get that. And rook simply slides over. Oh! 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 Nice, pawn can't take. Okay, so we've now grabbed a knight. Okay, we're threatening this. Okay, oh, this is some decent play. And the opponent's 9-3-2, so this is a discovered defense attacking the knight. Right, now, my spider sensors here would go ping, critical moment, take your time. And we spend nearly a minute from white. You've got almost 25 minutes on the clock. You can afford a little bit more time than that. Now, what do we see? Now, we have an equal trade here, and yes, it exposes the king, right? But if we simply retreat the bishop, and we have trade, the king will have to slide over, but then the rook can slide over, looking down the g-file, right? You could even put the queen here, you know? So I would probably, I think, retreat the bishop, because this is no longer a pin. White plays queen e2, defending the knight, but losing this piece, surely. Yeah, so we've just given a piece back in return for not having the king exposed. And I don't think that's worth a minor piece. And now we trade and trade, but nothing gained there. Now, look at this terrible bishop here. Can't move. Completely landlocked. Okay, kick the bish. Trade. Okay, now that was actually a good piece of black's. So material is equal at this point. White has a space advantage, and the other advantage is that white has castled and black hasn't. I would imagine black's going to castle fairly shortly. Something I might think about here is maybe c3 and then rook b1 defended by the bishop, control the open file. Because that queen could slide in here and cause some damage. And remember, there's these two A pawns now. In comes the queen. What did I say? Queen here. Queen takes a pawn. Okay. Now, queen b1. Propose a trade of queens, and also threatening this, which would win the rook. Queen a1. Well, it's similar. And we trade off. Now these pawns are going to fall. Boom, boom. Black castles, giving up a pawn. Indeed. Absolutely. Now, we have a situation where still locked up center, still bad bishop. Very flexible knight on the other hand. Now it doesn't have a lot of scope right now. It could come here. Is this rook going to come across? Yep. And we've moved another pawn, but again this pawn has gone onto a light square, which makes this bishop literally cannot get out of this corner. These are all the squares it can go to. We've got to get pawns onto dark squares to open up the bishop. Okay, improving the king, like it. Pawns push, king pushes, push, push. It's tempting again to push h5 and take this square away from the king. That means that the king's only route up the board is going to be in a background here. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. Now the knight comes round. Now the thing about this is, when you've got quite a closed board in the end game, that really, really benefits the knight, and if it's a knight against the bishop, because the knight is capable of landing on all 64 squares on the chessboard, because the knight changes colour every time it jumps. Bishop is limited to 32. This bishop can only land on the light coloured squares, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those are blocked by white's own pawns, and that is an issue. Okay, now suddenly the bishop can come to life. So, good move. Yes. Okay. Bishop there, yes, like it. Now the knight is defending this pawn. This looks like a weakness. So now the rook can't come in here and attack it now because the bishop's there. But this is looking quite balanced. Okay, attack the rook. Ah, that's a skewer. Defends, good. Good spot. Checks, attacks the rook, but gives undefends his pawn. You had to move king f3. Yeah, we've dropped a pawn. And here's another pawn. Okay, now, not sure about that move because, look at this. Something like rook here, maybe, right, for example, and then bishop here, the rook's actually trapped because the king has got 1, 2, 3 squares. But the rook can go here, the king can't take. But now the rook can, yeah, go there with check. Okay, king has to move. Ooh, this is, and that's the square the king should have gone to in the first place. Okay. And now, okay, the knight is threatening to come in here and take this. Okay. Sorry, the rook. This is getting tense. Oh, this rook is too busy. He's got too much to do. Playing Space Invaders now. Pawn takes, okay, and bishop here is a thought, but then rook here and king can't take. Oh, it's a tough one. Take the pawn. This is getting hairy now. Okay, attack. He's attacking your bishop. Oh, and white wins on time. I wasn't even looking at the clock. My goodness me. Well, that was a nail biter. But I think, you know, we saw the bit in the middle. It was to do with this this pin here. I think this was the critical move. Queen e2, right? You should have just, I think, saved the bishop. And if you wanted to capture the knight, so be it, right? You can always defend your king, or very often you can defend your king. Right? You don't have, this isn't the end of the world, losing this pawn here. So here, I think, definitely, I would have retreated the bishop and been a piece up. Okay, let's move on to game number 3, quickly. Okay, now again, we've got the black pieces, so I'm going to flick the board around. Opponent with the white pieces is 9, 6, 9. And we have e4, e5, normal, normal, Italian. f6, inviting the fried liver, declined. Okay. This is like Gioco Piano. And now in comes the knight, but now black can just castle, and he's got 2 defenders on there. That's a curious move. That was a mistake. Here, you just castle. Right? Then, if either of these pieces takes on f7, you take with the rook. If he takes back, you take with the king. No worries. But this, it just drops a pawn. And the king's had to move. So we're on the back foot already. And we've lost a rook. Oh no! Oh no! Oh man! Here, I think d5 rather than d6. Because that blocks the bishop's defense. Now, if bishop takes, you take... Oh no, that then pawn's attacking the knight. This is a tough situation already. In the first few moves. And I think... And the knight now escapes. We take off the bishop. Queen comes in with check. Attack. Queen takes h7, yep. Queen takes f2. Check. Be still, my beating heart. Oh, this is now sharp as you like. King moves. And it looks like we're kind of out of attacks, but this check, surely forcing. We'll force the bishop to take, then bishop takes, and we've got mate in one. Yes. Oh, no, it's not mate in one, knight's defending. Oh my goodness gracious me. And the bishop's attacking this knight too. Queen here, check. Trade. We've got our piece back. Woohoo! Oh my goodness me. I need more beer. Check. Yeah. No, it's a decent move. Somehow, my gut says go to e6, but don't know why. Maybe partly it's taking the square away from the knight. Well, you might want to put the knight there to defend that as well. Okay, and knight comes out. So this is interesting. So now we've got 3 minor pieces and 1 rook against a knight and 2 rooks. But we have the bishop pair. This might be an idea, but it can be hit. There, hit the knight, threaten to double the pawns. I'm thinking also maybe over here and compete for the open file. Because this rook is currently underemployed. This is a poor rook. This rook is powerful. It's dominating that f-file, right? So there's an argument to say maybe try and trade off the good rook and leave white with the problem rook. However, it's not too hard to develop the rook and develop the king and do that. Okay, comes in with check. And a fork on this pawn. So king there. Check again. Woo. King here. Now we've got knight takes c7 as a fork on king and rook. No. Oh, blunder. This was the move. With check, wins the rook. Oh no, but no. Oh no, you're right. There, king takes rook. Hang on. Yeah, the rook's under attack. Rook's got to do something. So here, probably the move is actually that. Yeah, and then attack the bishop. But this, that's just a blunder. That is a lack of a sanity check. Now, how long did you take? 5.3 seconds, Your Honour. The prosecution rests. 5.3 seconds, and white has 25 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. Unforgivable. Unforgivable, I say. Mark me. Right? Boom. You lose your rook. Ho, ho, ho. Oh, mate. But now we get the knight, at least. So now, fascinating, interesting times. Now, here I would take black any day of the week, I believe. Yeah, we're up 2 in material, but the point is you've got 3 pieces on the board, aside from the king, compared to white's 1 piece. And more pieces is generally better. Okay, now where do we want to put this bishop? Something like here. Push this pawn, maybe bishop there. That's my first instinct. Nice. Yes. Okay. Okay, check. And yes, king in there. Attack the bishop. Yes. Nice square, so it's defended by the knight. Trade. Absolutely. And now there's a hanging pawn. Woohoo! This is good play. I'm enjoying this. Hit the rook. Spank it. Spank that rook. That rook is hanging. Excuse me, sir. Right, now it's black's turn. Etenherb. You spent 4.4 seconds on this. If you had spent a little bit longer, you'd have won outright. Boom. Etenherb goes, oh no, my pawn. Forgot to say, okay, what's just changed on the board? What has happened? Failed to spot. Bishop attacks rook. Just thinking, oh no, my pawn. Right, and this is the thing. This is like probably the number one thing for anyone at the beginner to intermediate level. Look at the entire damn board. Look at the whole board. Tell the story of everything that happened, and do not. I mean, look, you've got time. Etenherb here's got 17 and a half minutes on the clock. Yeah, that's loads of time. That's more than enough time to go. Okay, well, what else? Yes, I know I can move my pawn. This has helped me, I think, gain 100 rating points recently. Yes, I could do that. And now, what I'm not going to do, I'm stubbornly refusing to do the first thing that comes into my head. Okay, what else have I got? Oh, his rook's hanging, right? But no. And now he realises his rook's hanging. And okay, we attack the rook, and this is nice. This is a fork on this pawn as well. Yeah, this is good. Rook comes there, take the pawn. Yes! And now black is looking really quite dominant. And this knight as well has lots of scope. Okay, d5 here would simply defend the bishop. All right, king up there. Yeah. Okay, knight is under threat. Right, you're using a king. You could just use the pawn. No, I think g5. Because you're hitting the rook, but then the rook's going to come here. Okay, grab a pawn, why not? King here, attacks the bishop. Now, retreat the bishop maybe here. Pawn pushes, don't know. Yeah, that's perfectly good. It's also attacking this pawn. Also, it's guarding this promotion square as well, which is no bad thing. Take it. Good. Good. Take the pawn. Come on, we have to win from here. Two bishops side by side. Interesting. King cannot get close, right? The king cannot go through any of these things. And also the king can't go here or here, right? This king cannot eliminate these bishops unless it goes a very, very, very long way round. It would take it all day, basically, to get there. Now, what you need to be looking out for now is kind of skewers on the king and bishop. Check. That's a spike check. That does nothing at all. Okay, pawn comes down here. All we have to do is eliminate that pawn. I would happily trade any one of these minor pieces for that pawn. Unfortunately, both bishops are looking at that, and so is the knight. So that pawn has no hope. Also, notice, these bishops are covering all four of these squares. So Andy can now romp home. Off you go, Andy. Good luck, Gary. No, doesn't matter. No, just push Andy. Push Andy, right? Push. Or even this. Block that off, right? Because here, rook takes, we queen. And it's all over. Queen there, right? That's unnecessary, but anyway, off Andy goes. Okay, now we've given up the queen, okay? And we are going to win this. Protected square. Bishop's protecting this. Excellent, excellent. And white resigns. So all good fun. Thank you, Etenerb, for reaching out and for providing some very entertaining chess. I've really enjoyed these 3 games, and I'm glad that I got to review 3 games, because also Etenerb, or Mrs. Etenerb, happy Christmas. You've got 3 chess lessons coming your way in the new year, or whenever you like, courtesy of your adoring husband. So we look forward to doing that as well, and hope you've. Thank you, viewer. Thank you, everybody, for supporting this game and making it such wonderful fun for everybody. So that's it. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas day. I can't promise to make a video tomorrow. I'm going to be. Well, I'm not going to be too busy. Just preparing for my 26th, really, which is my family day with the kids, because all our kids, Sally and I both have kids with other people, so every Christmas day our kids are all at their other parents', and then we have our family day on the 26th, which should be lots of fun, and there will be a good feast to be had by all. But look forward to the lessons in the new year. Thank you for watching. Hope this has been fun for you. It's been fun for me. See you soon.